So now that we've looked over the database in general, we know what the tables, queries, forms, and reports, where they are and kind of sort of what each does. The first part of your actual project is to build a table. So we're going to build a table in Design View, and that table is supposed to hold information about our employees. So I'm going to go up here to the Create table, or to the Create tab of the ribbon, and they have templates and all kinds of other exciting things, but I'm going to click on Table Design. Now, we would normally sketch this out on paper first, but I don't have a sheet of paper to share with you in this particular recording. So I'm going to open the Design View, and this puts me, as you know, behind the scenes. So I have to choose what fields I need, what data type each field should be. Then I'm going to choose a primary key and save the results. So I'm looking to keep track of my employees. So I need one field that has the employee's ID number. Now that's going to be a unique identifier for each employee, kind of like a social security number, but we don't want to keep socials in our little database here. So it's going to be a type text because it might contain a mixture of letters and numbers. In fact, the only time something is a number is when you're going to do math with it. So I'm going to keep the employee ID in this particular field. The next thing I'd like to keep track of their last name, and that'll also be text. Their first name, and that's going to be text as well. I think we should keep maybe an email address, and I'm going to leave that also as text. And do I need anything else for these particular employees? I mean, in a real database, I'd probably have a mailing address and a phone number and all kinds of other things, but this is probably about as much information as I need to demonstrate tables for this particular course. So these are the things I want. We decided that the employee ID would be the primary key, so I'm going to select it. You can right-click it and choose primary key, or you can select it, and up here on the ribbon you also have a primary key button. So I'm going to choose the primary key, and then when I switch to the surface, it's going to ask me to save the table, and I'm going to save that table with a name that tells me this is about my employees. So I've called mine TBL employees and tell it OK. Now, don't panic that there's nothing here. Design View, you've set up each field. In Datasheet View, the surface view here, this is where we're going to actually populate the information. So I need you to enter maybe 5 employees, and you should be the very first employee. The only criteria, and that's because there's already data in here that's set up, the only criteria is that I'd like you to begin each employee ID with EMP and then the numbers. I need 01, 02, 03, 04. So I need EMP 01 through EMP 05 to be the employee ID numbers. All right. So I'm going to put in my name. You use your name as the first employee, and you can put in a silly email address if you want, if you don't want to share any real information. My employee number 2, I think I'll hire my dog. Why not? And so you don't need to watch me input all of this information. You just get the idea that you should have, by the time you're finished, 5 different employees. So I'm going to pause for a second while I finish typing that in. So here we are with the 5 different employees that I've chosen. I can make the email address field wider if it makes you happy to look at it at all in one place, but I don't need to, because as you know, the table is going to hold the data, but no real data entry or data manipulation is done in the table. We're going to rely on forms to take care of that. So now that I've finished working with my table employees, I'm going to go ahead and close it. And that's just going to save the width. The data itself was saved the minute I moved the focus off the record, but yeah, let's go ahead and save that wider email address column. So the next thing I want to do, I want to use another table. Now let me show you where that other table is, or in fact, let me just open it while you're not looking. We have an Excel spreadsheet, and I should be able to find it in here. It's called 201 Equipment, and it's again saved in the classroom where you'll be able to download it. And the very first tab of that Excel sheet contains the Excel version of a database table. Basically, somebody's gone in and recorded the company's equipment inventory here on this tab called computers. They've got a column for serial number, a column for system unit, another for price, processor name, speed, how much RAM, how much storage, which graphic card, and which operating system are on each individual piece of equipment. So you can see it's not a very big list, but these are all the various devices that they've been trying to keep track of. But now we're trying to track which employee has been assigned which device, and as a result, this is no longer, Excel's no longer an efficient way to keep track of things because an employee might be assigned more than one computer. So I need to pull this data into Microsoft Access, and there are a lot of different ways I can do it. I'm going to go ahead and close the document for now, and I'm going to come back into Access and go to External Data, and under External Data I'm going to click on the button that says Excel. So I'm going to import an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to import the data into a new table. Let me find that data, and mine should be in the documents, and it's right there. It is. And I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. And it's looking at, I have 3 different sheets in this, but it's looking at the sheet called Computers, and that's in fact the sheet that I want. I'm going to select Computers, look at the data, and go to Next. So it's recognizing that the first row contains column headers. These are going to become field names when I import the table. So I'm going to leave that selected and go to Next. Now, in this step, each separate field, it's telling me what data type it thinks it is, and you can go through field by field and double check that it's what you think it is. In this case, I've run through it a couple times and I'm comfortable with everything it's got, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Next. Now here's the weird one. You know that it's important to maintain data integrity, that every record be unique in a table, that you don't duplicate data. That leads to a loss of integrity. So in order to maintain that integrity and ensure that records are unique, each record must have a primary key. And by default, Access is willing to just throw in a primary key for you and auto number it 0102. But we know already that the company serial number is the unique identifier. Well, you don't know it, you didn't build it. I know it because I built it. So I'm going to choose my own primary key, set it to be the company's serial number, and go to Next. Finally, it wants to know what should we call these things. I'm going to label it TBL computers, but that's has to do with Lizinski naming conventions, and that's beyond the scope of this particular class. I'm naming mine TBL computers. You can leave it named computers, that's fine, and go ahead and hit finish. And it'll take it just a second. You don't have to save the import steps and tell it to close. Now, my table computers is right here. Go ahead and open up that table about computers. Look at the results. There are 20 different records. Each one contains the fields you're looking for. Would you switch to Design View and change Price to a data type currency? You have to go to the Home tab to get to Design View. Change Price to a data type currency and change the format down below to currency. Switch back to the surface. Yes, save changes. Yes, we know that if we've modified anything that may cut off information, there could be problems. Trust me, this one's okay. And this is what it looks like. All right. I'm content with the addition of this new table about computers with the data that we've got in it. So we're going to stop here for now, and our next video will begin looking at things like queries and relationships.